Welcome to Salesology, conversations with sales leaders, the art of faster, easier, more profitable sales. When you're ready to transform your sales for today's transforming market, we've got you covered with your host, the queen of cold calling and founder of Salesology, award-winning author, speaker, sales trainer, and coach, Wendy Weiss.
Hi, welcome to Salesology, conversations with sales leaders, the art of faster, easier, more profitable sales. And I'm your host, Wendy Weiss. I am the founder of Salesology and the Salesology prospecting method. And I'm also known as the queen of cold calling. So today we have a very special guest. We have the sales hunter. We have Mark Hunter, who is recognized as one of the top 50 most influential sales and marketing leaders in the world. He has written 3 books, High Profit Prospecting, High Profit Selling, and his newest, A Mind for Sales. And I'm definitely going to be asking him about that today. And his integrity-centered communication strategies are used every single day by thousands of people, ranging from Fortune 100 firms to small startups. His clients include Amex, Chubb Insurance, Lenovo, and hundreds more. And you can find these same strategies in the Sales Hunter University, which is an online program. In 2020 and again in 2021, it was ranked as one of the top 10 sales learning programs. And Mark has spoken in more than 30 countries on 5 continents. And this is very impressive. He travels more than 200 days a year working with people to show them how to find and retain better clients. So welcome, Mark.
Hey, thank you for having me on the show. Looking forward to talking all things sales.
All things sales. So let's begin at the beginning. What's the Mark Hunter story?
Well, you know what's funny is the Mark Hunter story is one that I didn't want to get into sales. I talk about it in my book, A Mind for Sales. Sales was not on my hit parade list. It was only because let's put it this way. It was the police department that forced me into sales. Yeah, I know you're asking what police department. Excuse me, tell me more. I got 4 speeding tickets in the course of about 8 weeks, the last semester of college. And I basically couldn't afford car insurance. And it forced me to get a job that supplied me with a company car. And that's what kind of pushed me into sales. And I was so good, I got fired from that first job. But it's okay. I got a second sales job, second Buick. You know what? I got fired from that one too. So it wasn't until my 3rd sales job that I began to figure out what sales is all about. But hey, you know what? I guess it's worked out okay.
I guess it has. And I do have to ask you, Mr. The Sales Hunter, was that last name a fortuitous coincidence?
Yeah, I don't know. But you know what's funny? The number of people who ask me, what was your name before you changed it? It's like, excuse me. I mean, hey, I owe it to my parents, okay? Okay, I owe it to my dad.
We are giving them a virtual gold star.
Yeah. Now, my name is not Sales, okay? Only my last name is Hunter. My middle name or my first name is not Sales. So anyway, so don't know. Anyway,
so it's not Mark S. Hunter.
No.
Okay, got it. So, in preparation for our conversation today, I was reading about you, and even though I've known you for a number of years, but I found some quotes that I love. So I'm just going to quote you now, because you said, I never know when my greatest opportunity may come with the next phone call I make. And you also said sales prospecting is where the salesperson makes their money. And I am in 100% agreement with you. So I'm curious on your take. Why is it so hard to get salespeople to prospect?
Because it's hard, or so they think it is. Here's the whole deal. You run across this all the time too, I'm sure. People say, oh, I don't have any deals to close. I don't have any deals to close. And the question you have to ask is, how much time are you spending prospecting? There's a direct correlation between prospecting and closing. But see, because it's the uncomfortable state of selling, the uncomfortable part, people just don't want to do it because, it's rejection. And there are really no participation trophies awarded for prospecting. Oh, but there are participation trophies awarded for prospecting, because here's a challenge. Too many people look at prospecting as the results. Prospecting is really the activity. It's the activity. You know this. It's that repetition. You have to stay in the game, because you can't win the game from being on the sideline. You can't win the game from the dugout. You can't win the game from the locker room. You've got to get on the field, the court, whatever it might be. You have to be in there. But here's the magic that I find around prospecting. And I think this changes the perception. If you have the ability to help someone, you have an obligation to reach out to them. Think about that for a moment. If you have the ability to help someone, you need to reach out to them. Because if you can help someone and you don't reach out to them, you're doing a disservice. That's really what prospecting is all about. And with that, we can end the show right here, right?
Oh, absolutely. Now we're done. And so, one of the things that I see a lot is, because you are 100% correct. There is a direct correlation between prospecting and closing deals. What I see a lot is, because people do not know how to prospect, or they prospect poorly, they are not closing sales. And then they, or maybe their manager, thinks they have a closing problem, but they don't actually have a closing problem. They have a prospecting problem.
Well said. Well said. And you're right. It goes back to the two things drive me crazy when people say, well, I was prospecting. And then I ask them what they did. Well, I called these people twice and they didn't respond. They didn't call back, so they must not be interested. Excuse me. 2 calls is not prospecting. Second is they send an email out to somebody, and then they send the same email back out. Hey, I wanted to bounce this to the top of your email list, or I wanted to check in to see if you've had a chance. Checking in. Excuse me. I don't know. Do you run a hotel? I don't run a hotel. I don't know why people would be checking in with us. You've got to have a strategy that is focused, A, on the customer and understanding their needs, and B, you've got to have repetition. You've got to be able to stay in the game. But that doesn't mean just repeating the same, sending the same email 10 times to the same person. No, it's different messages. You have to create different value with every message.
And I'll just mention one of my pet peeves. I'm just following up.
Oh, how many times, or the wonderful way with which people prospect, and that is connect and pitch. In other words, they want to connect with you on LinkedIn. So they send you an invite. And then immediately, for some reason, that allows them to feel that they can start selling you. It's like, excuse me, what happened here? Please, people, understand the cost. If you were to go to a doctor, and before you even walk through the front door of the doctor's office, the doctor gave you a prescription, has no idea what your symptoms are, but gives you a prescription, that'd be medical malpractice. And yet that's what too many salespeople do when they're prospecting. They have no idea what the customer's needs are. But here's the solution. Oh, really? Wow. How's that working out for you?
So what are some examples? Can you share some ways to think about strategy? Because you mentioned you need to have a strategy. Yeah. How I know that your new book is an awful lot about mindset. What's the strategy mindset, and what are some sample strategies? Sure.
Wow. Okay. We could be here 3 hours with that question alone. I'm going to break it into 2 parts here real quick. A mind for sales. You can't change behavior until you first change your mindset. So that's one of the biggest issues people have with sales, because they think, oh, if I just change this what I do, it's like if I tighten this bolt more, or tighten this screw, or cut this board a different length, somehow everything's going to be perfect. Behavior doesn't change till you change the mindset. So now let's back up to the mindset. And how does it play into prospecting? First of all, you got to understand who your customer is. And I always say, know your ICP, ideal customer profile. what does that ideal customer look like? And stay in your lane. In other words, if your ideal customer is a B2B business in Manhattan that serves customers in a service mode, okay, those are the types of customers that you're going after. If you are selling SaaS, your software as a service, and you are purely dealing with healthcare professionals with independently owned clinics that are not affiliated with a hospital, okay, guess what? That's your niche. Stay in your lane. And what that does is it allows you to become an expert in that lane. And when you become an expert in that lane, you gain insights, you gain information that you can begin sharing with them in prospecting calls, sharing with them in information. And what does this do? This is allowing you to do three things. You're creating continuity because you now have multiple messages that you could be reaching out to that person with. You're creating competence because you're demonstrating your knowledge. And finally, you're demonstrating confidence because that other person you're reaching out to says, wow, this person's really smart. Now, I said competence in terms of the knowledge you share. Here's what's interesting. Real competence is seen not in the information you share, but in the questions you ask. Wow, that's scary from a prospecting standpoint.
Of course, you have to get someone to talk to you before you can ask them a question. And that may be the hardest part of all.
Oh, that is the hardest part, because it's not like people wake up in the morning and say, oh man, I hope somebody calls to sell me something. No, it doesn't happen. Here's the whole thing though. If I am reaching out to you, and I may be reaching out to you 5, 6, 8, 10, 12 times using multiple mediums, telephone, email, I might even be using social media, whatever it might be. But each one's a different message. And you're not responding. I get it. You're not, but you're seeing some of these glimmers of information. What's going to happen is if I'm respecting your time, in other words, I'm not sending you the World Book Encyclopedia. Oh, wow, that dates me. Okay, the 80s are calling. They want their encyclopedia back. If I'm being brief in my messages and concise, in like my voicemails, for instance, the person who leaves a 30-second voicemail. Oh, painful. But if I'm leaving that 10-second voicemail, and it's rock solid, and I'm able to deliver, you're eventually potentially going to pick up the phone and take my call. But here's what happens. My reputation arrives before I do. So I'm building my reputation with my messages, but you're also probably Googling me and my company, because you're not going to take my call. You're not certainly going to set up an appointment. I hate to say it, but now maybe you're brilliant enough that you can get this, but people are probably going to Google, who is Wendy Weiss? She's the queen. She's the queen of prospecting. Wow. What's it say about her? Oh, wow. I definitely want to take that call. I want to have that meeting with her. You see, your reputation arrives before you do, but it's all staged, and it all builds upon each other. But that last C, I said confidence. Now think about that for a moment. Not only is the prospect getting confidence in you, but you're getting confidence in your ability to help them. What does that do? Oh, it increases your competence even more. Yes, that's how we create opportunities. That's how we create sales.
Yes, and that confidence is really life-changing when people get it. I want to go back to this idea of repetition, because I think one of the things that's very interesting that people miss, because we teach what you were describing, a series of messages, voicemails, emails, texts, whatever it is. And over time, what happens, maybe a prospect doesn't respond initially, but it's kind of like commercials over time, that they keep hearing your name. And I've actually experienced, and maybe you've experienced this as well, Mark, prospects that say, Wendy, how are you? It's so good to talk to you again. And I have never talked to them before.
isn't that funny? I know it feels like they know you, but you've been out there enough. But stop and think about this. Have you ever stopped to think about the amount of advertising that Apple came out with their new iPhone, recently, and I can't turn on the television without seeing an Apple commercial. Now, I know what Apple products are, but they keep, Coca-Cola. How many Coca-Cola commercials do we see? How many? Again, so you look at these big brand names. If they're doing all of that advertising and marketing, then don't think for a moment that little old Mark Hunter living in Dallas, Texas, shouldn't be picking up the phone and making phone calls and putting stuff out on social media, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, because I got to catch up with the big kids.
And I'm wondering if you have seen this as well, because we teach, I personally do this. We leave a voicemail, we send an email. We leave a voicemail, we send another email. And clients always say, well, nobody returns a phone call, so I'm just going to email. What we've seen is, one, people do return phone calls, and two, the response rate goes way down if you don't leave the voicemail. So can you back me up on that from your experience?
You up. Man, I'll back the bus up as far as you want to go, and let's fill it up with everybody, because here's the whole thing. Email is a one-dimensional piece. Okay, it's words, it's printed words. Voicemail is now two dimensions. It's spoken word and personality. See, I can put my personality into it, so it brings it to life a whole lot more. Three-dimension is when it's not only the spoken word and the personality, but I'm able to do it face to face. Okay. That doesn't happen as much anymore, but it does right here by way of Zoom, Teams, go to meetings, whatever it might be. But you do increase your probability of connecting dramatically by linking email with voicemail. I can't. There are still people that don't get it.
It's amazing.
Like, okay, yeah, it's fine. If you don't want to get it, that's fine. I'll take your business. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, let your competitors call them.
Yeah, right. Just give that list over to your competitor, and they'll be happy to take the business. Okay, they may even send you a check. Yeah, not.
Well, there's actual research. It was done at the University of Chicago Booth School of Business, where they compared written communication against spoken communication. And written communication was like an email, a text, maybe a letter or social media post. And spoken communication face-to-face on a Zoom call. Maybe they didn't do Zoom call. I think it was 2015. Voicemail, phone. What they found is if people hear you talk, even if it's just a voicemail, one, they think you're smarter. And two, they're more likely to take action on whatever it is you're talking about.
It is so true. It's funny. On my third sales job, remember, I told you I was fired from my first two. I thought I was going to get fired from my third sales job when my boss's boss called me into the office. And long story short, he said that I needed to eat breakfast with a mirror in front of me, because he said I had the most dour face he'd ever met. And his whole focus was get your personality in. Get your personality in play. People are listening to this as an audio, as a podcast right now. And yet you and I are recording this, and we're looking at each other by way of Zoom. And it comes to life. For the two of us, our body language, our facial expressions, etc., we're interacting a whole lot more because we can see each other, which makes our audio content, the podcast, resonate that much more with the listener. At least I sure hope so, right?
Absolutely. And I'll share my tips. I make my clients, when we're practicing doing role playing, they have to stand up.
Thank you.
And you know what I used to do to warm up? I actually still do it sometimes if I have to do a lot of prospecting calls. I will stand up and I will sing a song, and I cannot sing, but I will sing a song nice and loud to get me warmed up so I can have some energy and have fun and talk to my prospects.
I love that. Like right now, I'm standing up talking to you because it brings more energy. Hey, people, and it's like I also say, when you're if you're making any number of prospecting calls, get yourself a good headset. And don't say, oh, my company won't pay for it. Go out and spring for it yourself. Hello, people. Just go out and buy a good, because you know what? When we can talk with our hands, it's amazing how much more our personality comes through.
Yes. And a prospect that can't hear you clearly will not talk to you.
Gee, that's a brilliant observation, but you're so spot on. And that's, again, the quality of audio. I'll never forget. I got a prospecting call from somebody who was calling from their cell phone in their car. No, it wasn't their cell phone. It was their car phone. And clearly they had their windows down. I mean, you were hearing all kinds of street noise and everything else. And it's like, hey, look, was I going to give that person 2 seconds? No, not at all. Because if you don't have the, if you don't respect me enough to stop the car and give me a decent phone call on a clear cell phone connection, I don't deserve to talk to you. See, audio really plays a much bigger role than we ever think it is. And with that, I'll drift into my broadcasting voice. You're listening to Wendy Weiss on Sales Off. No, okay, I'm sorry.
So I want to talk to you some more, Mark, about mindset and how to get into the right sales mindset, and also about prospecting truths, because I know that you have a special gift for our listeners about prospecting truths. We're going to pause now for a word from our sponsor. And our sponsor today is Salesology 3X Appointments. You know how frustrating and stressful it is when you leave every sales meeting wondering if your sales team knows how to sell, because they're not selling and all you ever hear from them are excuses. They blame your marketing, they say you need to do more social media, and they say you need a new website. You know something's wrong, you don't quite know what it is, and you're even starting to wonder if it's you. You don't have a lot of options. You could fire them all and start from scratch, and that would be expensive. And you're really sick of waking up in the middle of the night wondering how to fix this. Well, imagine instead that you have an easy-to-use, replicable system that ensures that your team can easily schedule qualified appointments. And imagine that your team is excited and motivated, no more excuses, and you feel good. Salesology 3X Appointments can make that happen. If you're a business owner or a sales manager with an underperforming sales team, let's talk. Click on the link to my calendar in the show notes, schedule a time, and I look forward to meeting you. And we are back today with the sales hunter, Mark Hunter himself. And so let's talk mindset. Let's talk about, there are so many, one of my pet peeves, Mark, so many negative perceptions about sales. And so people that go into sales are often, they often buy into these really negative things that people say about salespeople. And how do you get past that?
Well, what's funny is I struggled with that myself the first several years. It was a contributing factor to why I got fired from my first couple of sales jobs, because I was having problems seeing the full 360-degree picture of sales. I was just all about taking orders. Just I was treating customers like bowling pins. My job is to knock them down and move on, because I never wanted to talk to them again, because I was afraid I'd probably, yeah, you're right. I was doing things that I shouldn't be doing. And what I find is that there's a mindset shift that has to happen. When you view your role as selling, you will never be successful. I mean, I really flat out say that. If you view your role as selling, you'll never be successful. But if you view your role as a sales leader, let me give you the definition of this. A great salesperson is really leading. And you know what? A great leader is really selling. And you know what? Their objective is the same. It's to help others see and achieve what they did not think was possible. Think about that. Help others see and achieve what they didn't think was possible. That's what your job is in sales. And go back. And one of the exercises I love taking salespeople through, if you're having any kind of a hesitation, or your motivation's down. Take a piece of paper, draw a line down the middle. On one side, write down 5 or 10 of your customers. Write down the names of 5 or 10 of your customers. Just jot them down. And then on the right-hand side, write down the outcome that they achieved. No, not what you sold them. It's the outcome they achieved. In other words, you go into companies and you help them prospect better. So the outcome is because they were able to 3x their sales. They were able to increase their sales. They were able to hire more people. They were able to, whatever it might be, but write down the outcome. And when you make that list of companies that you've sold to and the outcomes you've created, you look at that and then you give yourself a big hug. You go, I love myself. I love myself. But that's when you begin to realize why you're in sales, because you're truly helping other people. You see, sales is about influence and impact. That's really what sales is. It's influence and impact. And people can sit there and have all kinds of images and impressions and, the used car, or the boiler room type of, the different movies that have been out there that. And you know what? Get over it. Get over it. Be confident in who you are and be confident in the success that you allow those around you to achieve. I wake up every morning with this objective. Who will I have the ability to influence and impact positively today? Yeah, you do that. That's cool.
Yeah, I looked up the definition of the word sell in the dictionary, and it said to persuade someone of the value of whatever it is you're selling. So the concept of value is inherent in the definition of the word sell. So I get confused about how selling got such a bad rap.
I love that because the word value is in the definition. Hello. What's funny is you talk to some people and they say value. Oh, that means cheap. That means cheap. And there's a line that I love to use. You can't take a Walmart shopper and make them a Nordstrom customer. You just can't. Okay. Because, Walmart has one type of customers that they go after, and Nordstrom has another type of customers that they go after. They're both very successful, but they both stay in their lane. But they understand that the Walmart has to deliver a certain level of value, and Nordstrom has to deliver a certain level of value. It's different value because they're dealing with different customers. When you understand your lane, you understand your role, you understand your position. Wow, clarity begins to come into play. And there will always be people who will never get it. There will always be people who will never quite get, why does Walmart exist? Or there may be people who always say, why does Nordstrom exist? It's okay. It's okay. As a business, as a salesperson, I don't have to appeal to 100% of the marketplace. Doesn't happen. Nobody achieves that. Even Google does not have 100% market share. There's other search engines out there. So, I'm okay.
Yeah. The one of the hardest things I think to get clients to get is to stay in their lane, because I think people are afraid of missing out on opportunities, that they don't understand that by being too broad, you get no opportunities at all.
Squirrel, shiny. I mean, salespeople love to chase shiny objects because it gets them excited. Oh, wow, this is really cool. And you're right, it doesn't get them anywhere. It's just like going back to what you made a comment earlier. Salespeople are always quick to blame other people for why they can't sell. It's funny. Salespeople are always quick to say, my price is too high. My price is too high. If we could just lower our price. They are never willing to admit, no, your selling skills are pathetic. Okay, just saying. If you would just invest more in the website, if you just would do this, I mean, that's all. Salespeople are quick to say it's always somebody else's fault and never take responsibility themselves.
And sales managers are often very quick to say it's the salespeople's fault. And I actually think that if your salespeople aren't selling and you're a sales manager, it's probably your fault.
Hey, thank you. Thank you. Because you know what's funny? It's amazing how our kids wind up looking and acting a lot like parents, right? I mean, you watch companies. I mean, it's amazing. But you see companies take on the personality of the ownership, the CEO, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yes, sales managers, I always love how sales managers are always quick. Well, I just need to fire them. I just need to fire them and start over. And let me tell you something. Anybody can fire anybody. Yeah, it's a painful thing to do, but it's easy. That's not the difficult part. The difficult part is hiring somebody. Hire. Because I'll tell you what, if you've sat there and have said, oh, I got to fire this person, got to fire this, and it goes on and on and on. The only thing consistent in the process is the sales manager. Maybe they're the one that should be. Yeah, right. You have to invest. We want salespeople to invest in their customers. Sales managers, invest in your people. Take the time to get to know them, understand them.
You know what I think is like the most insidious myth, even more than all the things, the negative perceptions of salespeople. It's this concept of the born salesperson. I'm actually on a mission to eradicate that, because somehow there are these people out there, they're just born knowing what to do. And I don't know about you, Mark. Well, from what the story you shared, you weren't a born salesperson. I know for a fact I wasn't. I was lucky somebody taught me.
Right.
And if you're a sales manager and you've hired someone new, they're not born knowing what to do. You have to train them or get somebody else to train them.
Yeah. The only skill set you have to be a good salesperson is a personality. And excuse me, everybody has a personality. So, I mean, really, that's all it comes down to. And then what it comes down to is you have to be willing to be disciplined and focused. And if you can do that, it's amazing at the success you can have in sales. But you got to be disciplined and you got to be focused. Sales is not waiting for the phone to ring. That's called customer service. Customer service is great, serves a very valuable piece. I want to go out and create incremental opportunities. Sales is about creating incremental opportunities. That's what I wake up in the morning and say, that's what I want to go get. That's what I want to help my customers go get.
So will you share with us, Mark, one or two prospecting truths?
Hey, I can give you half a dozen. Here's one of them. You have to be willing to stay in the game for 15 to 20 cycles. Don't ever think for a moment that you can give up after one or two cycles. Second one, don't ever allow yourself to assume that on the first call you're going to close a deal. No, unless you're selling pencils, fine. Your objective with a prospecting call is to gain the next step. So you basically lower your expectations. My objective is to create the conversation and get the next step, which might be the next meeting, probably is the next meeting. Because again, you called them and they weren't expecting your call, right? So it's just creating engagement. So there's two quick ones. I can go on and on and on forever.
Well, I know you have 50 of them. So, because you have a gift for our listeners. So could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, 50 prospecting truths. It's a fast read. It's quick. It's tips you can do. People grab this ebook and then they go, hey, I'm going to focus in on these one or two. Master them. Then you go on, you grab another couple more. But the idea is it gives you truths and it blows up the myths. It blows up some of those stupid mindsets. Because again, if you want to change behavior, you first have to change your mindset.
And so we're going to post the link for the 50 prospecting truths in the show notes. So after you finish listening to this podcast, go to the show notes, click on the link. And we're also going to post all of Mark's information. Mark, I have to ask you, will you put your hand over your heart and promise that you will come back?
Yes. I think it's been way too long since I don't know when the last time I was on. Yes, I got to come back. And I've got to get you on my podcast, the Sales Hunter podcast. So we'll make sure we make that happen. How's that sound?
Okay, good. You just made my day. Thank you.
Good.
And so we have been talking to the Sales Hunter, Mark Hunter. And do check out the show notes for all of Mark's links, the 50 Prospecting Truths ebook. Click on the link so you can download it. And if you found value in today's podcast, then please think about one person that you know, one business owner, one sales professional that you think might also find value in listening to this podcast, and share the link with them. And until we meet again, visualize yourself surrounded by cash, really large bills.
You've been listening to Salesology, Conversations with Sales Leaders, the art of faster, easier, more profitable sales. Be sure to follow so that you don't miss a single episode. And while you're at it, please leave a rating and review, and be sure to share it with your friends. Tune in every week for more exciting insights and wisdom on transforming sales. And until next time, visualize yourself surrounded by cash, very large bills.